In a world that never stops moving, stillness becomes the rarest form of wisdom. We are taught to chase, to climb, to hustle, to conquer. But the soul, your eternal essence, is not impressed by noise. It doesn't race. It doesn't strive. It doesn't scream. It whispers. And in the hush between your thoughts, in the quiet after the questions, that's where the soul begins to speak. Clarity is not something you achieve. It's something you remember. You were born with it, wrapped in simplicity, bathed in presence, untouched by confusion. But as the world's volume turned up, as expectations piled upon you, like bricks on the chest of your spirit, the clarity was buried beneath it all. Not lost, just waiting. Waiting for you to be still enough to feel it again. Stillness is not the absence of movement. It is the presence of awareness. It is the moment when you are no longer doing life, but being life. And in that being, the fog lifts. You begin to see, not with the eyes, but with the heart. Not with logic, but with knowing. The kind of knowing that doesn't require proof because it is truth. Most people confuse clarity with answers. They think they'll feel clear once they figure it all out, once the past is explained, the future guaranteed, the pain justified. But clarity is not born in solving. It is born in surrender. When you stop clenching the steering wheel of your life so tightly, when you stop demanding certainty from an uncertain world, something miraculous happens, peace walks in. And where peace goes, clarity follows. Let us remember the truth known by sages and saints. You are not here to figure life out. You are here to feel it, to open to it, to soften into it like water returning to the sea. The need for control is the ego's obsession, but the soul has no such hunger. It doesn't need to control. It already belongs. It doesn't need to prove it already is. It doesn't need to race. It already rests. Your inner chaos is not because life is chaotic. It's because you've been avoiding the sacred space within you, the silence. You've been filling every crack in your day with noise, distraction, validation. But clarity doesn't rise through effort. It rises through stillness. It doesn't come from pushing. It comes from pausing. And in that pause, you meet yourself again. You were never meant to carry the world on your shoulders. The world is not yours to control. It's yours to experience, to love, to witness, and to let pass through you like wind through an open field. When you sit in stillness, you remember this. You remember that life is not a storm to be survived, but a breeze to be felt. And in feeling it fully, you return to the truth that you were never disconnected, just distracted. Distraction is the greatest thief of clarity, not because it takes something from you, but because it turns your gaze away from what was always there. Like the sun hidden behind clouds, your light never left. It was only obscured by thought, fear, busyness. And when you finally get still, the clouds part, not all at once, but gently, respectfully, like a curtain rising to reveal your own divinity waiting patiently behind the veil. The stillness does not shout, it does not force, it invites, and it waits, always waits for you to accept. Not when the to-do list is done, not when the circumstances are perfect, but now in the breath you are taking. Now in the space between your thoughts. Now in the sacred pause where the mind rests and the soul wakes. And in this waking, something changes. You stop asking life to be different. You stop begging the moment to become something else. You begin instead to listen. To listen not with your ears, but with your entire being. You begin to hear the language of the soul, the language of stillness, and it tells you what no amount of striving could ever reveal. That you are safe, that you are loved, that you are already whole. Stillness is not a task. It is a homecoming, a return, a remembrance of who you were before the world told you who you should be. It is the falling away of every label, every mask, every identity constructed from fear. And as it all falls, what remains is essence. What remains is God not outside you, but in you. As you, moving through you, breathing you, being you, And in this sacred space, clarity is no longer something you seek. It becomes what you are. Let the world keep spinning. Let the chaos outside dance its wild, unpredictable dance. You don't need to control the storm. You only need to find the eye of it, the center. And that center is always still, that center is always you. So sit, breathe, be, and in that stillness, let the illusions dissolve. Let the old stories, the ones that said you're not enough, not worthy, not capable, let them fall like leaves in autumn, no longer needed for the soul's blooming. You are not your past. You are not your fear. You are not the noise of the world. You are the silence beneath it. You are the space between the notes, the rhythm that gives the music its meaning. You see now why clarity cannot be forced? Why it resists the grasping of the mind and instead flows through the openness of the heart? Because clarity is not information, it is transformation. It does not fill you, it empties you. And in that emptiness, you finally feel light enough to rise. You become like a feather surrendered to the wind, not passive, not powerless, but free. Free from the illusion that you need to have it all figured out. Free from the belief that healing requires effort. Free from the ego's insistence that you must earn peace. You don't earn peace, you return to it. You don't achieve clarity, you allow it. And all of it begins in stillness. So if you are weary, sit. If you are confused, sit. If you are broken, grieving, lost, overwhelmed, sit. Not to escape, not to avoid, but to arrive. Stillness is the most radical arrival. It is where you meet life without agenda, where you stop trying to be anything and remember you are already everything. In stillness, the soul speaks, and it speaks in a language beyond words, a language made of feeling, of knowing, of being. And what it whispers is this: you are already home. What if the very thing you've been searching for has been searching for you too? Not in the noise, not in the chase, but in the quiet you keep avoiding. What if stillness is not just a spiritual practice, but a doorway, a sacred threshold where the divine and the human meet, where the veil thins and truth is no longer something you read about, but something you feel vibrating through the marrow of your being? There's a reason the great mystics sat in silence. There's a reason the prophets wandered the desert. There's a reason the sages withdrew from the noise of cities and climbed mountains to find God. It's not because the divine is far. It's because the world is loud, too loud to hear the subtle beauty of the eternal that whispers from within, too loud to feel the sacred pulse of presence moving in every breath, too loud to hear the soul say, I'm still here. I never left. You just forgot how to listen. You don't need a new path. You need a deeper presence. You don't need to run forward. You need to fall inward, into the holy quiet where your spirit waits patiently behind the storm of your thoughts, into the inner sanctuary where truth does not arrive dressed in certainty, but in peace. And that peace, that gentle presence, is the language of clarity. It does not bark orders or deliver perfect blueprints. It simply clears the debris so the light can shine again. And you have always been that light. The confusion, the anxiety, the overthinking, those are just clouds. And clouds, no matter how dark, can never extinguish the sun. The sun just waits. Still, constant, glowing behind the storm, your soul is that sun. Not in need of fixing, just waiting to be seen again. The world has conditioned you to think answers are earned by effort, that truth is something you must chase, something out there just beyond your reach. But the spiritual life is not about chasing anything. It is about remembering what is already within. It is the sacred reversal, the path not of gaining, but of shedding, of unlearning the noise. So you can return to the knowing. And it takes courage to be still. It takes courage to stop distracting yourself with the next thing, the next goal, the next identity. Because when you finally sit in silence, You meet yourself, not the self you show the world, not the self you've polished and performed, but the raw, trembling, holy self that has been whispering beneath the surface all along. Stillness is not easy. It confronts, it reveals, it humbles, it strips away everything that is false. It forces you to see the parts of yourself you've buried beneath achievement and validation. But it is in this seeing, this honest, sacred witnessing, that you begin to return home. And that homecoming is clarity. Not the clarity that gives you all the answers, but the clarity that says you don't need them, you already are the answer. There's a kind of wisdom that lives in the quiet. It cannot be found in books or sermons or lectures. It is not taught, it is remembered. It is the wisdom of the trees that do not try to grow, but grow. The rivers that do not try to flow, but flow. The stars that do not try to shine, but shine. What makes them divine is not effort, but essence. And what makes you divine is not your doing, but your being. You are the tree, you are the river, you are the star, and you are never more aligned with the truth of life than when you are still enough to simply be. Sit with that. Let it break open the armor of your striving. Let it dissolve the illusion that your worth is somewhere ahead of you. Let it remind you that clarity is not the reward for working harder, but the revelation that comes when you finally stop. And the moment you stop, truly stop, you start to see, you see that your worth has never been in your productivity, that your value has never been in your accomplishments, that your purpose is not something you chase, but something you remember. And what you remember in the stillness is this: you are already whole. You are already held. You are already here. And here is where everything begins. When the mind gets quiet, the heart begins to speak. And it speaks in a different language, a softer one. It doesn't argue or compare or worry. It doesn't say when or if or someday. It says now. It says yes. It says I am. And this I am is the most powerful prayer you will ever whisper. It is not a begging of life to become something else. It is a full-bodied return to what already is. It is the dissolving of ego into essence. It is the surrender of resistance into rest. It is the moment you stop pushing the river and let yourself be carried. So sit. Sit like the mountain sits. Sit like the moon watches. Sit like the ocean waits. Not to escape life, but to merge with it. To merge with the still, unshaken, eternal pulse that has always been inside you. Clarity does not always come in lightning bolts. Sometimes it arrives like dew, soft, slow, and silent, but it nourishes, it renews, it awakens the parts of you that were never dead, just dormant. And in that awakening, you come alive, not as someone else, but as more fully yourself. There is no rush, there is only rhythm, the rhythm of breath, the rhythm of being, the rhythm of love that has no opposite because it was never conditional. The stillness teaches this. It shows you that underneath all your trying is a truth that never needed to be earned. You are the clarity. You are the peace. You are the stillness. And when you stop long enough to feel that, not just understand it, but truly feel it, you begin to live, not from fear, but from presence. Not from need, but from fullness. Not from ego, but from soul. And the soul, the soul does not rush. The soul knows. The soul flows. The soul rests in the silence because it remembers what the mind forgets, that God is not somewhere else. God is here in the stillness, in the breath, in the now. There's something sacred about silence that terrifies the ego. The ego feeds on noise, on proving, achieving, calculating, defending. But the soul is nourished by stillness. The soul doesn't compete. It doesn't grasp or argue, it simply is. It breathes with the universe. It aligns with the eternal. It remembers. And the more you allow yourself to be still, the more you realize how loud your life had become. Not just in volume, but in expectation. Every moment stacked with demands, every thought laced with pressure, every breath taken like it had to accomplish something. But stillness says otherwise. Stillness says, come as you are, let go of the armor, lay down the need to be more than you are in this moment. It's enough. You're enough. You see, clarity doesn't need you to be perfect. It only needs you to be present. Present enough to witness what's been underneath all along. Not the story of who you think you are, but the truth of what you've always been, the presence behind the personality, the awareness behind the thoughts, the light behind the identity. When you return to stillness, you return to yourself. Not the self shaped by fear or comparison or past wounds, but the self with a capital S, the infinite spark that existed before the world had a name for you. And that spark doesn't flicker, it burns steady. Even when the mind is in chaos, the soul remains calm. Even when life is uncertain, the spirit stays whole. But we forget, we get caught in the swirl, we mistake the turbulence of our thoughts for the truth of our being, and in that forgetting, we suffer. We chase things that cannot fill us. We climb ladders that lead nowhere. We try to quiet the noise with more noise, but the answer has never changed. The way home has never moved. It waits, always waits in the quiet. So sit in the discomfort if it's there. Sit in the emptiness if that's what rises. Sit even when the mind screams that you should be doing something, especially then, because the moment you stop running from yourself is the moment you begin to heal. Stillness is not passive. It is the most radical form of alignment. It is choosing to return when the world tells you to run. It is saying, I trust the silence more than the shouting. And in that trust, clarity emerges. Not as a lightning strike, but as a soft unfolding like petals opening to the sun, one breath at a time. Do you feel it? That gentle remembering that you don't have to strive to be worthy? That quiet hum beneath your rib cage that says you're not broken, just buried? That sacred pull inward that whispers, stop trying, just be? That's clarity rising. That's your soul stepping forward after years of waiting for you to pause, to listen, to come home. Because the soul cannot shout over the ego. It will never fight for your attention. It will simply wait. It will wait while you exhaust yourself with proving. It will wait while you perform for love. It will wait while you carry burdens that were never yours to carry. And when you finally put them down, when you sit in the stillness long enough to hear the silence, it will gently say, welcome back. There is no punishment for forgetting, only pain. The pain of being disconnected from your own light. But that pain too is a teacher. It is not here to destroy you. It is here to guide you not toward more doing, but toward deeper being. Every ache, every doubt, every unraveling moment is a breadcrumb leading you back to the stillness where clarity lives. And when you enter that space, something sacred happens. You stop asking life for explanations. You stop begging the universe to make it make sense. You begin instead to trust, not because you have the answers, but because you no longer need them. You begin to feel the subtle but unshakable truth that you are guided, that you are carried, that you are enough. The world outside may still be loud, but the world within becomes your sanctuary. And from that sanctuary, everything changes. Not because life changes, but because you see it differently. You see it through the eyes of presence, through the lens of love, through the truth of your soul, which was never confused, only unheard. And so you walk differently. You speak with more softness. You listen with more depth. You move with more grace. Not because you're trying to be spiritual, but because you're no longer trying to be anything else. You are finally being what you are, a sacred thread in the fabric of existence, a note in the great song of creation, a soul remembering its light. Stillness teaches you that nothing is missing, that you don't need to chase alignment. You need only remove the noise that's hiding it. You don't need to create purpose. You need only feel the pulse of it that's always been within you. Let go of the idea that clarity is something to be earned. It is not a prize. It is a presence. It arises when you are brave enough to stop, open enough to listen, soft enough to feel. It flows in like a tide, not when you command it, but when you invite it. And it washes away everything that was never true. In the stillness, illusions dissolve, masks fall, armor melts. You become transparent to yourself. And in that transparency, there is nothing left to defend, nothing left to fix, nothing left to prove. There is only truth. And the truth is that you are already whole. You always have been. Stillness does not change your life by adding more to it. It changes your life by taking away what never belonged. The false urgency, the inherited fear, the borrowed dreams, the narratives handed to you by a world that confused motion for meaning. Stillness is the great purifier. It doesn't decorate the cage, it dissolves it. And what's left when the cage dissolves? Freedom. The kind of freedom that doesn't shout or need permission. The kind of freedom that doesn't come with flags or declarations. The kind of freedom that lives in your breath. Quiet, sacred, unmistakable. It's the freedom of no longer being pulled in 1,000 directions. The freedom of finally hearing your own voice again after years of listening to everyone else's. The freedom of remembering that you are allowed to choose peace over performance. When you begin to live from stillness, you no longer crave validation in the same way. You no longer bend yourself into versions that fit the room. You no longer ask people to fill the void that only presence can hold. Because you've tasted something deeper. You've touched the well beneath the world's thirst. You've returned to the source, not in theory, but in living, breathing reality. And from that place, everything changes. You love without attachment. You speak without trying to impress. You listen without waiting to respond. You no longer react, you respond. Because you are no longer driven by unconscious stories. You are awake now, rooted, still. Clarity strips away the unnecessary. It reveals the essence. And when you see with essence, you don't just see more clearly, you see more kindly. You look at your pain with tenderness instead of judgment. You hold your past with compassion instead of shame. You see other people's anger as fear, their cruelty as confusion, their arrogance as woundedness. And you forgive, not because they deserve it, but because you do. Stillness births this kind of clarity. Not the kind that just makes decisions easier, but the kind that makes the heart softer. The kind that lets you walk through the same world, but with entirely new eyes, eyes that see through illusion, that recognize divine patterns in chaos, that find peace not in the absence of noise, but in the presence of awareness. There is a sacred intelligence moving through this universe. Call it God, call it source, call it life. It is not random, it is not cruel, it is precise, gentle, profoundly aware of what your soul came here to remember. But it doesn't force you. It invites you. It will not wrestle your will to the ground. It will wait. And it waits in the quiet. You want to know who you are? Then be still. Don't just sit with the question. Become the space that no longer needs to ask. That's what stillness does. It doesn't answer your questions, it dissolves them. It doesn't fix your brokenness, it reveals that you were never broken. It doesn't give you new ideas, it clears the fog so truth can rise. Like the sun rising not because it's told to, but because it's what it does. You are not here to be a performer on life's stage. You are not here to be constantly visible, constantly relevant, constantly productive. You are here to be real, to be awake, to be so rooted in truth that nothing outside you has the power to uproot you. And that kind of rootedness comes not from willpower, but from stillness. It's in stillness that you remember the rhythm of life, the inhale and exhale, the expansion and the return, the rise and the rest. You were never meant to run endlessly forward. You were designed to pause, to reflect, to listen, to let the tide carry you back inward before you reach again outward. The clarity that comes in stillness is not about making better plans. It's about no longer needing a plan to feel safe. It's about trusting the unfolding, about letting go of your white-knuckled grip on how you think it should go and leaning fully into the mystery. Because the mystery is not your enemy. It is the birthplace of grace. Do not fear the unknown. Fear missing it. Fear becoming so busy, so distracted, so addicted to noise that you never hear the invitation hiding beneath the surface of your life. The invitation to come home, not to a house, not to a person, not to a belief, but to the timeless space within you that has never been touched by fear. That place is still. That place is whole. That place is where clarity lives. And once you live from that space, the world no longer controls your peace. You no longer chase love, you become it. You no longer fear endings, you trust transitions. You no longer resist what is, you flow with it. And in that flow, everything sacred becomes visible again. The ordinary becomes holy. The mundane becomes miraculous. And so the invitation remains, be still. Not because it's trendy, not because it's spiritual, but because your soul remembers the language of silence. And it's time you did too. You won't find yourself in the next breakthrough, the next relationship, the next success. You will find yourself when you stop running. When you sit in the quiet with nothing to prove, nowhere to get, no one to become. And in that sitting, you will hear the oldest truth echo through your being. You are always it. You are always enough. You are always home. So now, as the breath slows and the noise begins to fade into the background once more, you find yourself standing not at the end, but at the return. The return to what was always real, always waiting, always whispering beneath the rush of the world. This is not a conclusion. This is the moment when all the seeking dissolves and only the stillness remains. And in that stillness, everything becomes clear. You don't need to make life perfect. You don't need to fix every flaw or heal every ache before you are allowed to be at peace. You are allowed now. Not after the storm in it, not once clarity comes, but because clarity comes when you stop demanding it and begin allowing it. The stillness does not erase the journey. It blesses it. It gathers every shattered moment and folds it into a single quiet truth. Nothing was wasted. Every detour was a teacher. Every heartbreak was a mirror. Every silence you avoided was a door back to yourself. You ran, yes. You stumbled. You forgot. But the soul never left you. It simply waited. And now you are ready to listen again. And what does the soul say? It doesn't give you instructions. It doesn't hand you a map. It doesn't require that you understand. It only asks that you trust. Trust the pause. Trust the breath. Trust the invisible rhythm that life has been moving to all along, even when you couldn't hear the music. Let the stillness be your sanctuary now. Let it be your teacher, your guide, your anchor, not once in a while, but always. Let it meet you in the morning before your thoughts begin. Let it hold you at night when your fears return. Let it be the space you return to when the world demands your performance. And you remember, I am not a role. I am not an idea. I am not what others need me to be. I am presence itself. And presence does not perform. Clarity is not a light that flickers on and off depending on your worthiness. It is always shining. It is always speaking. It is we who turn away, we who drown it out. We who run, not because we are lost, but because we forgot we already belong. And now, beloved soul, you remember that silence is not empty, it is full. You remember that surrender is not weakness, it is power. You remember that the pause is not the absence of progress, it is the birth of purpose. You remember that nothing outside you needs to change for you to return home. Because home is not a place, it is a presence. And it lives in you, right here, right now. It always did. So walk on, not with certainty, but with clarity. Not with all the answers, but with the knowing that you are allowed to not know and still be deeply, beautifully whole. Speak less to convince. Listen more to understand. Create not to impress, but to express. Love, not for what it brings back to you, but for the miracle of what it brings out of you. You do not need to be louder. You need to be truer. You do not need to be seen more. You need to see more. You do not need more power. You need deeper peace. And all of it begins and ends in the stillness you were once afraid to sit in. Now you know better. Stillness is not where you lose yourself. It's where you find yourself again. Not the self the world taught you to perform, but the real self, the quiet self, the eternal self, the self that does not need to be explained, only remembered. And so let your next breath be not a rush toward answers, but a return to presence. Let your next moment be not another chase for clarity, but a sacred pause where clarity finds you. You are not here to race time. You are here to touch eternity, and you do so every time you choose to be still. So be still now, not because the world told you to rest, but because your soul remembered it could. Let this be the moment you stop waiting to arrive and realize you already have. Let this be the end of searching and the beginning of being. Clarity has come, not because the world changed, but because you did. Because you stopped, because you listened, because you remembered who you are. And who you are is enough. Always was, always will be. And now you know it. Clarity comes in the stillness. And in that stillness, you are finally free. We all live in the presence of what we imagine to be an ideal future, and yet, in our fixation on what lies ahead, we often miss the richness, the fullness, the utter magnificence of the present moment. There are many who are consumed with the idea of what they have not yet achieved, of where they are not yet, of what they have not yet experienced. And in this pursuit, they forget the life that is unfolding right in front of them. The truth is, the only life that truly exists is this one, the one happening right now. The future is a mere illusion. It is not a place you arrive at, but a destination made from the thoughts you carry today. If you allow yourself to be entranced by the future, you may find yourself missing the only moment that truly matters, the one you are living right now. Do you understand that the present moment is all there ever is? The future that you chase is a mirage that promises happiness, but it never truly arrives. The only true moment of power is this very second, right now. You are here, breathing, feeling, being, and yet so many of us are looking beyond, yearning for what's next. We race towards some undefined goal, thinking that we will find fulfillment when we reach it, but fulfillment is already available to you in the here and now, if only you open your eyes to it. The ego tells us that we need more achievements, more possessions, more approval, and as we chase these external markers, we forget that the greatest fulfillment lies within. It is not in the future that we will find peace. It is right now in the stillness of our being where we reconnect to the soul, to the divine essence that has always been there. The truth is, you were born into wholeness. The story of your life has always been unfolding, and it will continue to unfold, but only when you stop chasing a future that is perpetually out of reach and begin embracing the beauty of now. I want to remind you of something fundamental. You are not your ego. You are not the achievements you think you need to attain to prove your worth. Your ego will continue to chase after approval, success, recognition, but none of these things can ever define you. When you realize that you are not your ego, you will stop chasing after a future that keeps you bound to the illusion of lack. You will understand that you are already whole. You are already enough. And this understanding will transform your experience of life. Imagine, if you will, for a moment, that you were freed from the need to chase anything. No more measuring yourself against others. No more striving for a future that seems ever elusive. What if, instead of striving, you chose to simply be? You are already everything you seek. It's within you right now. The keys to the kingdom are not hidden in some distant time, but right within your heart in the present moment. When you release the need to chase a future, You align with the truth that you are a divine being, and you stop living in the dream of what could be. You come home to the now, to the space where true peace exists. You see, there is great wisdom in the present. In this moment, your life is already unfolding in the way it is meant to. Every breath, every beat of your heart, every thought and every emotion, it is all part of the divine plan that is woven into the fabric of your soul. The future is a projection of your mind, an image shaped by your desires, your fears, your fantasies, but it is not real. The real power, the real magic is in your willingness to be present, to surrender the past, to release the future, and to live in this moment with full awareness. In every moment, the soul whispers to you. The soul does not reside in the future. It is not concerned with what will be, because it knows the deep truth that it is eternal, unchanging, and free. The soul knows that you are not defined by the conditions of your life. You are not limited by your circumstances. The soul speaks in stillness, in presence. It does not demand, it does not chase. It is already whole, already complete, and it invites you to remember this truth. So, I ask you, what is it that you are chasing? What future are you running toward? And when you get there, when you finally reach that elusive destination, will you truly find what you are looking for? Or will you find, as so many before you have, that the future is always moving just out of reach, and by the time you arrive, it will already be yesterday? The future, my friend, is an illusion. It is always tomorrow, never now. In your life, what if you chose to stop chasing and began to simply live? What if you allowed yourself the grace to rest in the present moment? The moment you stop striving, the moment you stop trying to outrun yourself, is the moment you begin to truly live. Life is not a race. It is not a series of milestones you must reach to be worthy. Life is an unfolding journey, and every moment you miss chasing a distant future is a moment you will never get back. You are the author of your life, and you do not need to wait for the perfect future to write your story. You can begin right now. The beauty of the present moment is that it is all you ever need. The world is in constant motion, and yet, here you are, standing still in the vast expanse of time with everything you need to experience peace and fulfillment within you. When you realize this, you stop running. You stop chasing. You stop measuring yourself by what you haven't yet achieved. You begin to see that you are already enough, that you are already whole, and that this moment is where life is truly happening. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment to feel at peace. You don't have to wait until you have more success, more love, more recognition. The fullness you seek is already here, in the now. When you embrace the present, you release the burden of waiting for something outside of you to change. The peace you seek is not found in some distant future, but in the quiet acceptance of this very moment. When you stop chasing the future, you are free to live your life fully. The soul is not concerned with tomorrow. It is concerned only with this moment, this breath, this step. And so, my friend, I invite you to join the soul in this dance of life. Be present. Stop waiting. Stop chasing. The future will come, but it will come on its own terms. It will unfold in its own time, and when it does, you will be ready, not because you spent your days chasing it, but because you spent your days living fully in the now. You are not defined by what you have or have not achieved. You are defined by your capacity to be present, to be whole, to be at peace, and in this peace, all things are possible. When you stop chasing a future, you align with the divine flow of life, and you begin to experience the miracles of the present moment. The future is not a place you get to. It is a series of moments strung together, and every moment you live is a gift. Don't miss your life chasing a future that has not yet arrived. Live now. And in that living, you will discover that you are everything you have ever sought. In this life, the only certainty is the present. And so, my friend, I leave you with this truth. Do not chase a future that will never be. Live in the now. Embrace the fullness of the present. For in doing so, you will discover that you are already enough, that you are already whole, and that you are already living the life you have been seeking all along. Let go, be here, be now. As you breathe, you begin to understand the simplicity of the truth. Life is not something you have to force, it is something you flow with. In the dance between your breath and the beating of your heart, there is a harmony that transcends the chaos of the world. It is in the silence between your thoughts, in the stillness between your movements, that you find the deepest connection to your soul. You see, you are not meant to fight life, you are meant to align with it. The more you fight, the more you separate yourself from the peace that is your birthright. But when you release the need to control, the struggle ceases, and the universe begins to work with you, not against you. In this moment of surrender, you start to feel a shift, a subtle yet profound shift. You begin to see yourself not as an individual fighting against the tides, but as an integral part of the vast ocean. The waves come and go, but the ocean remains, unshaken, ever-present, eternal. You are that ocean. The waves of life, joy, pain, success, failure are simply passing moments. They do not define you. What defines you is the essence of your being, the stillness that remains when everything else fades away. Now, let us be clear. This is not to say that life will become easy. The ebb and flow will continue. The challenges will arise. The storm clouds will gather. But when you are aligned with your truth, when you are grounded in the stillness that resides deep within you, nothing can disturb your peace. You will find that even in the midst of the storm, you can remain calm. You will find that the world may spin, but you are anchored. And in this anchoring, there is a wisdom that begins to awaken within you. It is the wisdom of the soul ancient, timeless, and always present. The wisdom that tells you that you are not your circumstances, you are the observer of your circumstances. You are the space in which everything occurs, and in this space there is infinite potential for creation. It is not in the effort that you find your power, but in the surrender. It is in the letting go of the need to control that you discover your true strength. The strength of the soul is not the strength to manipulate or force things into being. It is the strength to trust, to allow, to flow with the current of life. And when you do this, when you release the need to hold on, you will discover that everything you have been searching for has always been here inside of you. You see, the journey is not about becoming something you are not. It is about unbecoming everything that you are not. It is about stripping away the layers of conditioning, the layers of fear, the layers of self-doubt that have been placed upon you by others, by society, and by your own mind. These layers obscure the truth of who you are. But when you release them, when you breathe and let them go, you uncover the radiant being that you have always been. This is the power of realignment, is the power of returning to your true self. The self that was never broken, never lost, never lacking. You have always been whole. You have always been complete. And as you let go of the past, you make room for the future to unfold, not as a series of random events, but as a deliberate expression of your soul's purpose. So, what happens when you realign? The answer is simple. You begin to see the world differently. You begin to see that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. Every person that enters your life, no matter how they appear, is a reflection of your own inner state. You begin to realize that everything that happens for you, not to you. And with this realization comes a deep sense of peace, for you understand that you are not a victim of life, but a co-creator. And this is the most empowering truth you will ever come to know. You have the power to create your reality. It is not your circumstances that shape you, but the way you respond to them. When you breathe deeply, when you release the old stories, when you realign with your soul, you open yourself up to the infinite possibilities that are available to you. You become the creator of your experience. You begin to live with purpose, with intention, and with a sense of divine direction. But this requires trust. Trust that the universe knows what you need before you even ask. Trust that everything is unfolding perfectly, even when it doesn't look the way you think it should. Trust that every experience, no matter how challenging, is part of your soul's evolution. And when you trust, you stop resisting, you stop pushing against the current, you stop trying to force life into a mold that is not meant for you. And in that space of trust, you allow life to move you, guide you, and shape you into the highest expression of yourself. Breathe, release, realign. In this simple practice lies the key to your transformation. It is not complicated. It is not something that requires years of study or self-improvement. It is simply a choice to let go of the illusions that you are not enough, that you are not worthy, that you are not deserving of all the good that life has to offer. It is a choice to align with the truth that you are already whole, already abundant, already free. And as you make that choice, you begin to live in a way that reflects the infinite love and power that resides within you. This is the gift that life offers you in every moment, the gift of choice. The choice to breathe deeply, to release what no longer serves you, and to realign with the truth of who you are. The choice to trust in the flow of life, to let go of the need for control, and to surrender to the wisdom of the soul. And as you do this, you will find that life becomes easier, more fulfilling, more joyful, and more aligned with your highest purpose. So, my friend, I invite you to take a deep breath with me now, to feel the life force that flows through you, to release all the doubts, all the fears, all the burdens that you've been carrying, to realign with your soul, with your true self. And as you do, know that you are not alone. The entire universe is supporting you. You are loved, you are enough, you are free. Breathe, release, realign, and know that you are exactly where you need to be. There comes a sacred turning point, quiet, unannounced, when you no longer crave escape because you have found sanctuary in your own presence. Not because life has become less demanding, but because your relationship to it is transformed. You begin to realize that peace is not the absence of pressure, it is the presence of clarity within it. And this clarity is born not from answers, but from stillness. A stillness so honest that it silences all false narratives with one whisper of truth. You were never lost. You were only distracted from the center. In this rediscovery, you feel a different kind of strength. Take root not the kind that battles for survival, but the kind that blooms in surrender. Not the might that shouts, but the power that listens. You begin to trust the pauses between decisions, the soft intuition that rises without effort. And with each choice made from this place of inner listening, your life aligns not in some distant future, but right here, beneath your feet. What you once labeled as delays or detours are now seen as sacred recalibrations. The very things you thought were working against you have quietly been rerouting you toward deeper wholeness. There is wisdom hidden in the waiting, in the pauses that used to frustrate you. There is grace in the detours that protect you from destinations too small for your soul. Life you now see has always been more interested in your becoming than your arriving. As you return to this deeper way of being, you no longer seek to fill the silence with noise. The quiet becomes your teacher, revealing that many of your anxieties were born not from reality, but from the mind's habit of forecasting storms that never arrive. You begin to notice the way serenity arises when you stop asking life to match your plans and instead begin listening to what life itself is asking of you. In that listening, a softer rhythm emerges. You no longer wake to a to-do list of worthiness. You rise with reverence. You move not out of obligation, but out of alignment. You speak less to be understood and more to express the integrity of your spirit. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to remain rooted rather than react. Every challenge becomes a portal not to power over anything, but to power within everything. This inner anchoring changes the nature of your presence. Not in some performance of enlightenment, but in the effortless way your calm steadies the atmosphere around you. You become less interested in persuading the world and more committed to embodying truth. Your very existence becomes a quiet invitation. Come sit in your own soul for a while. You are safe here. And the world, without knowing why, begins to breathe easier around you. As you continue to move through life from this deeper alignment, urgency falls away. You no longer measure your worth by milestones or timelines. You know now that the most sacred unfolding cannot be rushed. That becoming is not a race, it's a revelation. And revelation does not arrive by force, but by faith. Faith in the unseen, faith in the whispers, faith in the unfolding architecture of your spirit's expansion. You stop chasing closure and start inviting openness. You stop clinging to outcomes and start honoring the process. You stop bargaining with life and start dancing with it. Because in this state of real union with your truth, you realize there is nothing to win and nothing to prove. There is only the beauty of participating fully, honestly, and consciously in the miracle of being alive. And perhaps the most radical shift of all is this: you begin to forgive yourself. Not just for the mistakes, but for the misunderstanding that you were ever broken to begin with. You no longer carry shame like a shadow. You walk forward in the light of compassion. You understand now that self-forgiveness is not an erasure of responsibility. It is the deepest form of responsibility to heal, to grow, and to stop making yourself smaller than the love that lives inside you. So let this moment be a new kind of vow, not a promise to change everything overnight, but a sacred willingness to stay awake, to be present, to honor the unfolding of your soul's unique rhythm. Let your life become less about what you're trying to fix and more about what you're learning to feel, to love, to witness without judgment. That is where the real alchemy lives. And with every breath that enters your body now, feel this deeper alignment settling in, not as a destination reached, but as a homecoming allowed. There's no need to chase healing. There's only the invitation to stay open to it, to become spacious enough for it to happen through you. Life does not need your perfection. It needs your participation, your willingness to show up with honesty and softness, your courage to walk the path barefoot, one step at a time toward truth. So walk on tenderly, boldly, without the burden of needing to understand everything. Walk not to escape where you are, but to meet more of who you are. And with each breath, with each quiet act of letting go, you will discover the path has been loving you forward all along. And now, as this path of remembrance draws near its quiet close, feel within you the stillness that has always been there like an ancient lake untouched by the winds of time. It does not demand attention. It does not cry out. It simply waits for your return. This stillness is your truth. Not what the world asked you to become, not what fear tried to sculpt, but the eternal presence that has always watched patiently as you wandered, knowing you would one day return not with shame, but with reverence. You do not arrive here empty-handed. You carry sacred lessons written in the ink of experience. You carry softened edges where once there were thorns. You carry an open heart, cracked not by loss, but by awakening. And through those cracks, light has entered, not the kind that blinds, but the kind that reveals. Light that does not burn away who you were, but blesses it, honors it, forgives it. You see now, even the detours had holy hands guiding them. Even your wounds had wisdom folded inside. You were never off course. You were never behind. You were simply being unraveled, gently, lovingly, until your soul could fit back into its rightful form. What grace then to see that all along the obstacles were teachers, the delays were sacred pauses, the heartbreaks were doorways. Each one broke something false apart. Each one led you deeper, not into despair, but into depth. Not into despair, but into truth. And what is that truth, really? It is not some grand philosophy. It is something you can feel, even when words fall short. It is the knowing that you are not separate from life, you are life. You are not a drop in the ocean hoping to be accepted by the tide. You are the tide. You are not here to seek love, you are here to embody it. You are not a fractured soul trying to be repaired. You are a whole presence awakening from a long, forgetful sleep. So breathe with that truth now. Breathe in the peace that comes from no longer needing to chase. Breathe in the relief of no longer needing to perform. Breathe in the beauty of no longer trying to earn what was already yours. Your enoughness, your belonging, your divine place in the tapestry of existence. This is not something you achieve. This is something you allow. Release then, not just what was heavy, but what was hollow. Release the ideas that never truly fit, the beliefs that whispered you were too much or not enough. Release the rush to arrive and honor the sacredness of the unfolding. Release the habit of self-neglect disguised as productivity. Release the mask that smiles when your soul longs to speak. Let it fall. Let it all fall gently, like autumn leaves returning to the earth. And as everything false is laid to rest, you realign not through effort, but through remembrance. You realign by breathing into the space where your soul can finally stretch. You realign by walking your path with less armor and more presence. You realign by choosing grace when the old patterns call you back. You realign by honoring the truth, even when it trembles on your lips. Let this be your new rhythm, not striving, but listening, not forcing, but flowing, not waiting to be chosen, but knowing you are already chosen by life itself. Your existence is not a mistake. It is music, it is medicine, it is movement. And when you live from this place, you do not need to seek purpose, it begins to seek you. In the still corners of the day, may you find yourself softening. In the chaos of the world, may you become the calm. In the mirror, may you meet not a reflection of failure, but the eyes of someone who dared to return. And with each returning breath, may you remember, nothing outside of you holds the key. It is in your inhale, it is in your release, it is in the courage to realign, again and again. So live gently now, not as someone racing toward healing, but as someone who is no longer hiding from it. Live boldly now, not as someone demanding to be seen, but as someone finally willing to see. Live fully now, not because you've figured it all out, but because you've stopped needing to. And when the world asks who you are, may your very presence answer, I am not who I was. I am not what happened. I am not the echo of my fears. I am the breath returning home. I am the space between the noise. I am the soul. Awake in my own name. Breathe. Release. Realign. And let your life, from this day forward, be the reflection of a soul finally free.